Welcome to another Just Because bonus episode. Today, Anna Larson and Selena Conmackie invite guest Lauren Bruhn from the 15-ish Minute Coffee Chat episode 21 to continue the conversation about mental health and her becoming a part of our show indefinitely. Dive into our after-show wrap-up. See you in there. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi. Anna, what the heck are we doing here today?
It's a Just Because day. We were like, so if you catched, this is how awake I am. It is Friday. So if you catched it.
That's how I talk anyway. Right? Thank you.
If you caught our coffee chat this last Monday, Lauren, who is right there, Lauren was our guest on the show, and she is a marriage and family therapist, and she knows a lot of really good stuff about keeping yourself like in the moment and sane, and your brain just not going crazy. And we had such a good conversation. We were like, we need to take this to a Just Because later this week, ruminate a little bit on kind of what we talked about, and then go to a Just Because and then
Lauren.
So here we are.
Here we are.
That is the logo of 2020. Here we are.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So Lauren, thank you for again agreeing to come on and putting yourself out there with me and Anna, because I know we're a little crazy sometimes.
I mean, I love it. I think you're stuck with me now. Good luck getting me off the show. I'm gonna be just here in your live waiting room every month, week, however often you want.
Wow. Like a lurker's green room, and then you can just kind of sit there waiting in the leaves.
Mm-hmm. You can be backstage, and when you're send us a private chat, hey, I want to pop in. Let me in. I want to ask a question.
Right.
We'd asked Lauren to come on because we just had she had some great prompt questions that kind of I don't know, we wanted to continue the conversation and come this way. And I have to say, this whole week, I actually have been posting more on my Facebook page is what I should say. Just about the things we discussed, which is more the grounding and the inner voice and how that relates to business. And so it was good. And I even had some friends reach out to me I thought of you this morning and how you're unkind to yourself. And so here's a song you should listen to. And I was like, oh my gosh, so anyway. It was all good.
I love that. Those are good friends. Those are good friends, right? They take what you're saying to heart and say, oh,
yeah, totally.
I feel that way.
Lauren, how did you feel your experience was with us? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna get lost in grammar now. It's not my strong suit.
Yeah.
So forgive my crooked tense perhaps. But you know what? It was really cool to be a guest. I think so often it's such a treat to kind of switch that track in your mind from sitting in front of the screen for various purposes. And usually my meetings and my sessions are all based on the client, which is, that's why we do this. It's time for you, the client. But here was kind of cool. A little more myself.
Yeah.
More, I'm in a different office. So it's all cool, new different things. And I think it's awesome that you had feedback from your community of people. There's kind of community with a little c and a capital C, and those who are really close. And I think that was really cool that you saw some of the returns of not necessarily getting it right. It wasn't oh, I had this week and I was the best, most thorough cheerleader for myself. But even sharing when we feel we've fallen short in some way is its own win. That having given it a try can reap and get started that cycle of what you're looking for coming back to you from your community. So it's
And I love so I think people are so afraid to share those little it doesn't even have to be a big failure, just even those little ones. They either bypass them and don't recognize them as having happened, or they just are either afraid or embarrassed to share that they have happened with other people. Like there are some things, and Selena can attest to this, that I would only ever say to her, ever. Caveat those things, and I say, I will only ever say this to you, and I'll only ever say it this one time, right?
No, it's Lauren, no joke. It's funny because Anna and I went to something and we came home and I was dropping her off and we said that. And I think when, you have like the big C and the little C, like you said, I think there's levels of community that you have that still support you, but in more ways. I mean, Anna is like a big C for me and I for her, and we said some things in our car that we laughed. We were like, we could only say this to each other.
Yeah. But I think little failures are like that, where people don't want to have to share that they weren't successful at something. Especially with social media, right? Because social media is really that, what do they say? It's the highlight reel of what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
Part. And so why would you put in there, I'm really struggling and this didn't work out. My cake fell. It was a huge failure, unless you're trying to laugh at yourself, and
right.
And like, anyway.
No, you know what? Can I just drop a thing? I was just watching on TikTok. Steve Harvey had like a thing, and it was he just said like, failure is how you lead yourself to success. He's like, you tell me anybody that has not failed, like all the way up to the big CEOs and the big companies. He's like, you have to fail in order to get to the place you really want to, because that's just part of life or reality or something like that. You know what I mean? Excuse me as I have a coffee burp this morning.
Just because, folks.
Just because. So, okay, as we've said before, this is totally not scripted. It's just whatever. We say whatever, we chat with whatever. But I forgot, did we ask Lauren to like say bring a question, or do we just want her to come and chat? Let's just chat about the show.
Well, I think that kind of the purpose here was that we wanted to just let people know that in our coffee chats moving forward, we wanted to try and incorporate what we're going to call a mental health question. And the purpose for this, Selena and I had a kind of a long discussion about it yesterday, because our coffee chat is about business, and of course, mental health plays a part in that, but not everyone's super comfortable having that conversation. And so it was this long chat about how we can incorporate it into our coffee chat where our guests feel comfortable and we're still able to stay on topic, because you know us, we can veer off topic in about 10 seconds.
Right.
And spend a good hour discussing off topic stuff.
Right.
And so we're going to try it this next week with our guest, who's Moni Jefferson. So if Moni watches this, you're our guinea pig, and we're sorry.
Yeah. We're sorry.
We're sorry that you're our first, but I think it's going to go out really well, right?
Yeah.
So, so I think part of it was just having Lauren on and like asking another question and just kind of like practicing like what we're going to end up doing on our coffee chats.
Yeah.
That's
what do you think about that, Lauren?
Yeah. No, I love that, because I think anyone that I've ever met who has or pursued a career, I mean, that's a lot of people. Anyone who's kind of following some sort of dream that needs to go from in here to like actualize out in the world. Part of that is the system they're using to interact with people, to register their own success, to soothe when they hit a bump in the road. It's huge. It's your operating system, and you would be careful with that. You would be mindful of how it's doing and how you're protecting that system's well-being. We do it all the time. And I think we're so used to doing, like a workout for our body, and we eat when we're hungry, we sleep when we're tired, and we are really vocal and honest when we need more of those things. Like, man, it would feel good to go for a walk today. I haven't moved my body, or gosh, like I'm pretty hungry. You want to grab a snack? Right. But there isn't always a mental health equivalent, or it has more hurdles. It's important, I think, to know that a lot of times there are tons of people waiting in the wings to be your partners in that sense. And there's so much work you can do, even if you haven't quite found that partner yet. Like there's there's no stopping you.
Yeah.
I think incorporating that into your show would be fantastic. And I'm kind of wondering, sounds like you had some conversation about mental health fitting into your lives as, you know, podcast hosts, as business women, individuals in general. Where has mental health kind of fit in with your efforts to actualize those dreams, business or otherwise?
Yeah. Anna, go first. She's like, I'm just kidding. No,
throw me under the bus. That's the way this relationship works. Anna, go first. Throw you under the bus. No, I'm just kidding. I'm happy to go first, Selena. Honestly, for me, Lauren, the first thing that came to mind when you said that was I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. So there are not very, for me, you know, everybody has like their own things, of course, right? But I don't have, I don't want this to sound, well, it's not. I mean, we had Ted Foster on, right? We had Ted Foster on, who works with disabilities, and he helped me understand it's okay to talk about stuff, even if it's uncomfortable, but I don't talk about it because I don't necessarily have those things. Does that make sense? So I don't fully understand anxiety or depression or those, you know, some of those more, what I'm going to call more generalized mental health things, because they don't happen very frequently to me. And so I don't really talk about them. I don't think about them a ton unless it's happening in that moment. And so I think that for me, this discussion is really I need to be more aware of what's happening in my world that could take me there, and maybe even be able to stave it off sooner by doing some of this more introspective conversations with myself. That's where I would say, like, for me, within the business world, I am like, you know, Selena and I are kind of two sides of a coin. I'm go do it, try it. If it fails, oh well. And I'm not one of those people that has a really hard time saying, didn't work out. Didn't work out. Next time, you know? And she's a little bit more cautious in that. But on the flip side of that, when something hits me, I'm not necessarily aware that it's coming, because I didn't know it was going to have the impact that it had, because I hadn't stopped to think about it in advance. So that's
Hi, Yvonne. Real fast. This is Yvonne. She is like this, like, amazing human being. If you want to talk about like an adrenaline pump up for your what do you call it, for your mental health, a little dose of Yvonne will take you a long way. And I love chatting with her. She's an amazing founder of an amazing nonprofit called Operation Deploy Your Dress. She's amazing. And thanks for coming, Yvonne. Anyway. Yeah, no, Anna, okay, I'm going to just say this. It's so funny, like how she said two sides of a coin, which is what Anna and I are. And I think that's why it works so well for her and I. I have a lot of anxiety for a lot of things. But sometimes people don't think that I do. But I think when you work really closely with me, you'll know. As Anna knows, like, I'd be like, wait a minute. But I think for business, it absolutely has played a part. And I think, you know, I'm not gonna be shy about it. You know, I've always seen a psychologist or a therapist since I was a child, because I'm a kid of divorced parents. And I think when you're in school, or, you know, when you're a child and there's like conflict sometimes with your parents, school gets involved. And so you have mandated people show up and talk to the kids. And so it just kind of started from there. And I've always talked about my feelings with a stranger in that sense. And I've always found some security in knowing that it was a safe place to talk about. And then that allowed me to come back to my normal space and handle everything well. And so it's same with work. I mean, I still, you know, what I love is, like, there was a therapist that said, hey, you don't need to come see me all the time. Like, just come see me when you know, when your tire is flat. Like, I'll just be your spare tire. I'm not going to be one of your main tires on your car, you know? And I loved that he had said that. And so I talked about work and just what that did and how, and I said, what was funny was that work was an escape for me from, like, life. You know what I mean? And then but that was when I was years ago. But now, when I had my last session, I just talked about how I was running my own business, how that made me feel, and kind of talking through it. Because sometimes, like you said, that inner voice really kind of gets you, to prevent myself. And I think a lot of that did stop me from moving forward. So until I met Anna, not until I met Anna, but I mean, like, until I really started working with Anna, and then like another friend, Brenna, I would still be just with one client. Only, even though I'd be great, I would not have had the confidence built into me. You know what I mean? I just needed these friends that are like, we're doing this, we're getting here, we're gonna do it. So anyway, I hope that answers. So business and mental health, I think, are important, because I do see the correlation. And I think, you had said something on the show that made me like, that's why I think I feel so strongly about it. And it's like Anna said, we talked about this for a long time yesterday, about how it really, so because Anna is good. She's like, yep, but maybe this will, because, and we've had talks about this with other friends, about our friends, around us, like, oh, I don't understand the anxiety, or I don't understand this. And I come in with my like, my bag of like problems, and not problems, but just things I deal with. And I give her a perspective, and she's like, oh, I need to just kind of recognize that. And I think in business, not all of us are as confident as Anna. I'm very, very, like, I'm inspired and envious of her at the same time, because she's such a go-getter, and she'll do it with somebody or without somebody. And I feel that I'm the person that just needs somebody to propel forward for a safety net. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will tell you that hi, Julie. I will say that it's a heck of a lot easier to do it with someone, though, and I think that these mental health conversations are kind of some of that. Like, it allows people I think it's going to allow people to just take away from our coffee chats, just that little bit extra, maybe, that will help them through the week, whatever it might be, so the questions that you were asking during our coffee chat were very, like, what I would call non-specific, right? They were very like, so what does your inner voice say as you look in the mirror?
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, I was like, if I think about that kind of a question, for me, I automatically go to personal and not business. So I think it's going to be fun. I don't know if fun's the right word, but it's going to be interesting and different for me to start thinking about those same kinds of things, but not on just the Anna personal side of it, like, how's my marriage going? What are my kids doing for my brain? I just moved into a new house. I have so much to do, all that kind of stuff. And instead of it being on that level, it's more like, what is this new client? How is this new client really affecting me? Like my mood, or what they're asking me to do, I'm not comfortable with, or, I mean, that's never happened, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just throwing out things that could happen in a business situation. And you see this, I mean, I'm in enough business forums where you see people coming to their community saying, either anonymously or not, and saying, hey, this occurred and I'm uncomfortable with it. I'm not sure where to go from here. What do I do? So I think that adding this into our show is just like that next aspect of, like, that firming up your foundation, maybe, is a good way to say it.
Right. And we're not specialists, right? I mean,
no,
where Lauren comes in, but we just want, and here's why I felt so strongly about it is, Lauren had said, because I had mentioned it was like October 4th through 10th was Mental Health Awareness Week. And Lauren had mentioned, like, like recognizing it not just on the week or the month that's celebrated, but like every day. And I thought that was so, like, yeah, she's right. You know what I mean? And we had talked when we had talked to Erin, same thing. It just kind of like, talking about it will help with all these things, with the stigma, with the whatchamacall. And I mean, even he had brought, like Erin had mentioned, and I didn't even realize that companies do this, where they do bring on a mental health specialist for their team to offer it. And because it's so important, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Yeah, you know,
just for those listening, Aaron was one of our guests on season 2, Aaron Cothran, and he is also a licensed counselor, an LCT LTC.
No, LCSW, licensed clinician, social worker. Yeah. Who am I?
Sorry, Aaron.
I get trouble.
Look at you.
I'm so bad with acronyms.
So he's really interesting too, because his specialty, actually, he owns and runs a home for troubled youth. And so he really works a lot with the youth. And kind of one of the things he was saying was, it really starts with your kids, you know, way back when, in the very beginning, and being able to instill that self-confidence and instill that strength of inside you, because he sees broken children, right? He sees kids that have experienced literally the worst that the world has to offer in some cases, and he's trying to help them heal from that. And so I thought that was super poignant as well. And just there's so many of us that, I mean, I'm trying to think of the 70s or 80s. Hi, Marla. I'm trying to think back, and well, you know, I am not that old, but but if you think back to the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, you didn't hear mental health talked about all that much.
No.
It started a little bit in the 90s because you had the Gulf War and a lot of the war stuff was happening again, but you really didn't have a lot of conversation about what's, you know, I mean, people use words like crazy town and send them to the asylum and, you know, that kind of a thing. It was joked about and kept hush-hush.
Right. And I think that's why I feel so strongly about, like, you know what, it is good. It is, you know, maybe something that just to advocate for is, like, you know, we all do struggle. And I just want to change the narrative a little bit to say, like, hey, talk about it. Like, you know what I mean? Go find somebody like Lauren, you know what I mean? Or I don't know, come and DM us and say, yo, I mean, I don't need a specialist, but I just need to talk to somebody, you know? And I think that's important. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Lauren, that was like a lot from us, but
I mean, that's one question. We talked for like 20 minutes.
I spend most of my time listening. It's most of my day. And so it's wonderful when you find a question that speaks to people. And I think the whole point of asking that question was to see kind of what are you aware of in terms of your mental health and how it branches out like tree roots into your life as a business person.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it sounded like it was a topic that had so many things nested inside of each other. And, you know, I think stigma is kind of what was one of those topics that I was pulling out from what you both said. And it's, you know, I would encourage folks, as I was in the process of studying this, I chose this career because it's a lifetime of study, but when I was discreetly a student, I would often tell people what I was doing and I would receive a reaction that was like, well, I hope I don't need you, or I hope I don't have to come in and speak to someone who's in your role. And it would always kind of leave me with a funny feeling like, oh, but why wouldn't you want it? Like, would you say that to your physical trainer? Would you be like, God, I hope I never need you and my muscles are always, you know, tip top, like, you know? And do we say that to our dentist? Well, maybe we do. We don't want to go to the dentist, but I like going to the dentist because I know I will come out a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, a little bit sparklier than before, or I'll come out stronger. Right. A session with a trainer. And I think if we step back for a minute and we think of not only how things are going in terms of what are we touching on each day that's going on with our mental health, but also what are those messages I've absorbed over time? Was it something meant to kind of only be shared at the end of the dinner party when you're cleaning up in the hush hush moments? Was it meant only to be something you spoke about with those that you were truly deeply friends with? Or was it something that was okay to mention to people like, oh yeah, you know, do you need a recommendation for, you know, a great whatever people that help us just live our lives? And where it falls for us is important to know, I think, because it impacts how we approach others that we see a need in. And, you know, I know this topic of business and the goals of the show, as I understand them to be,
Mm-hmm.
right now is a tough time for businesses. And when I read the news about people whose livelihoods are suffering, have been deeply and profoundly impacted by the moment we're in, it doesn't sound like just number crunching, and it doesn't sound like the shingle they hung out is in danger. It's personal. It's a livelihood, and it's something connected to their ability to care for their families, to care for themselves. And I think it's wonderful to wrap around that topic of business the idea of where have we absorbed messages about mental health, and how are we doing right now in living out those messages? Do we need to adjust them? Do we need to loosen our grip on where this topic belongs?
Especially as an entrepreneur, Lauren, because entrepreneurs are typically smaller businesses, either sole proprietors or only a few employees at most. But it really is the core of, you started this for a reason. It's what you've always wanted to do. It went from your side hustle to your main thing. It's something that most of us, I would say for the most part, we're very passionate about. So it is a struggle right now. COVID has killed a lot of small businesses. They have not been able to survive the income issues and the payroll issues and the fact that we weren't able to leave our houses for 4 months, right? Yeah. So they weren't able to survive that. And I think a lot of people, there's probably now more than ever that need to recognize, where do you go next? Not necessarily if you've lost your business, but even okay, I've survived this long, but I'm hurting. Now what? And anyway, so I definitely think there's a space for that right now, especially.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting, really for the first time, pretty much the whole nation is suffering the same thing. You know what I mean? We're all shelter. Well, we all had to shelter in place. Jobs were put on hold. And so I feel like we're all feeling a lot of the same things at the same time. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting that it's I don't know. I do. I just feel like I want to just change that whole. It's funny how you said, Lauren, the dentist. We all hate it, but we know we love when we come out, we feel better. Our teeth feel clean. You know what I mean? You smile bigger sometimes, right? And I think we just have to remember that with the going to get just some mental health updos or check-ins or whatever. So you leave walking with a bigger smile. And I never thought of that, but if you think about it, dentist.
Yeah, or a physical trainer or your doctor visit, right? You schedule them and you go and you're not happy about it, but you do it because it's important.
Yeah.
And this is it. So I'm just going to pull this comment up from Sandy. Hi, Sandy. So she says, mental health is for only broken individuals, right? But and this is another thing that our last mental health counselor that came on, Aaron, said as well. He said, it's not just about being broken. It's something that everybody has internally, everybody needs. Yeah. And it is, I like the word self-care, Sandy. That's a great word to use for it. It really is a self-care thing, just like washing your hair, getting your nails done, whatever your thing is, right? Yeah. For Selena, it's her facial.
I did talk about this on the show on Monday, that it's the one thing I do.
Yeah.
But knowing that you have that and that you have that muscle built, I think it's not just that after you've been cared for by, a doctor, a dentist, your trainer, your meditation coach, whatever it might be, whoever it is that you kind of place in that category of people who help me live and live most fully. I think that's, that's an open category in my mind. It doesn't have to be anything discreetly. And I think I love the notion that you don't always need it. There aren't always going to be individuals who need to see, a therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist, psychologist, mental health practitioner of any sort in order to live a full life. I think there sometimes are individuals who really do need that support in order to just get to that place where they can function, they can meet their needs, they can meet the needs of their family. But I think everybody can benefit. Not everyone needs it, but everyone can benefit.
Yes.
And not just
so
that, you know, this is my what I just do. So obviously I find it important, but
yeah,
it's an ongoing conversation, and it's not just a
Yeah.
place where you can land when you feel like there's something you need, when you feel like there's something that's challenging or kind of, you know, undercutting your ability to live that full life. But if you know, I like to remind clients that like we can celebrate the wins. It doesn't have to be a session of like, let's dig up all the stuff that I felt like was really terrible this week and that was hard for me. Because I think speaking fully about the things that we feel we're good at, that we're successful at, that are going well, that's not wasted energy. You're using more nuanced language to describe an experience. And that's the core of asking for help, using language to describe an experience. So like Anna, in the beginning, when you were saying like, oh, you know, I don't really always have something that falls into those kind of discrete diagnosable categories. That's fine. That's totally fine. That's great. But you will, I think, benefit from being able to describe those good times more fully and share those with others. That's definitely building blocks of connection that we all benefit from. So,
and I think a huge part of that is finding those people and associating yourself. And even within the business world, finding your business group or your tribe or your people where you can go and share those wins. You know, that's what our guest next week, Moni Jefferson, and she's with AMFT, and AMFT has been one of those places for military. Selena and I fall in a couple of categories, right? Military spouses. This is a huge thing for military spouses because we move constantly. It's hard to maintain close friendships, you know, or you have a close friendship, but you're living on opposite sides of the world for 15 years and you really only spent 7 months together in one location. But they're one of your deepest, closest friends because we have to bond quickly and bond well. Otherwise, we don't waste our time because we know we're moving on at some point, you know? And so I think that finding those communities where you can have these conversations, whether you're going to see somebody professionally or not, having the space where this is the kind of topic that you have with your tribe, you know, and business oriented or personal oriented, they're going to be different communities. You know, I'm not going to go to AMC and be like, oh, my husband made me so mad today.
Right.
He didn't, John, everything's fine. You know what I'm saying.
I totally agree with that. It just finding the space and finding where you can go and feeling supported. I like that you said that about the whole celebrating the wins thing. I never actually thought about it like that. I mean, like when you're saying it out loud, because I don't always say it out loud either, my wins. But it's a way to kind of like get that unused energy that's kind of inside. Like, so.
And awareness is such sorry, please.
Look at Selena's pensive face. She's going to have such a good weekend. I'm going to get like 79 texts. She's going to be like, guess what happened to me this week? This and this and this and this.
I drank 10 cups of coffee. Yes, go for celebrating wins. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. I hope all of you guys will celebrate the little wins. Start little and then go big. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, okay, so we're about at the end of our time, but let me just tell you, I'm super excited to add this component into our regular coffee chat. And it's a work in progress. So everybody who's out there been listening or listens in later or rewatches or replays or whatever you end up doing. When you join us on Monday, you can give us some feedback and be like, yeah, that totally stunk. Or you can be like, I loved it. I feel like it was really good and brought some deeper conversation.
Absolutely.
Or, you know, I mean, because we're just kind of muddling through this a little bit. Because like Selena said, we are definitely not experts on this topic.
Right. But that's why we would bring in a Lauren Card, who is an expert. But again, she's just going to provide us with a great prompt that could be a question to ask, you know, and then she creates a conversation for us that we can have, you know what I mean? And we can only just give friendship advice. That's all we can do. Yes.
Wonderful.
Well, pink the red.
Yes.
Do the yellow shoes. I mean, that's my expertise level of advice that I can give you.
Right. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. I love all of the comments that we have and the feedback and the participation. Yeah.
Yeah. Lauren, thank you for joining us. And I can't wait to kind of incorporate you into our show this season. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, I think, I'm so anytime I see like, mental health as a topic come up, like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I always read an article that's like 10 steps to improve your whatever. I'm like, how is this message getting out there? And what of this can I, it's not a one way where I'm like, Buddha dispensing wisdom or like some enlightened being. Like, I am learning. I am just at the beginning of this journey. And it's so fun to just like come on here and in a non-professional capacity, just talk about this subject, because before it was a profession, it was just an interest of mine. So it's so special to spend that time with two extraordinary people. And it's so great. So it's been so fun to meet you, Anna and Selena. We go way back. So
we do. If you go look on my Facebook page on How Always Socially Inspired, you'll see the cutest picture of Lauren and I I posted.
As a teenager, Lauren's is little pigtailed on her shoulders. It's so cute.
Yeah. I mean, that's how far back we go. I mean, she was in the womb. Oh, wait. Okay. I'm going to leave this. Okay. So Lauren sent me like the best podcast, and there was the best line of, I just have to finish it. But there was a line in the biography, and it just said like, is this the darkness of the tomb, or is this the darkness of the womb? And this, what was the second line, Lauren? That was like wait, hold on. I just want to leave it with you.
I wrote down a couple, actually. I was listening to, it was How to Citizen with Baratunde was the podcast. I just started listening.
Yes.
So I'm not far at all through his episodes, but it was like an episode he created, I think, to prepare the subject matter of citizenry in this like kind of day and age. And this was Valerie Carr. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She's so new to my world. But she did have kind of a wonderful quote about, is this the darkness of the womb or the darkness of a tomb? I reversed it. But I think the important thing I picked out in that was that it's
not the end.
It's what we've chosen to label it as. We won't always have a marker. Like, it won't always be a definitive, like, what is this? I'm going to look at all the evidence and decide. But I loved that.
But the quote basically was saying, like, if you're looking at it, this is a tomb where you think you're done, or if it's the womb, which is, representing birth and the beginning of something new. I loved that quote, and I hope that everybody takes a perspective check this week, and maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's just a beginning and it's a birth of something new. That's all I have to say. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you, Lauren, for coming on our Just Because. Anna, I love you tons. Thank you for everybody that commented today. So bye. Aloha.
Have a great day.